Hey guys, thanks for joining me. And if you like what you see, please subscribe.
Hello, peoples. Welcome to Sharp Ends. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm going to be talking about the extra large pouter and giving my review. I did an unboxing of this already. There'll be a link right there for that. And this is made by LT Wright in AEB-L steel. And this happens to be a fairly fancy kind of semi-custom one. Look at those pins and that double red canvas micarta. So sweet. What does this knife scream to you? It screams to me kind of kitchen knife, honestly, although I think it would be just as good around the campfire as well. I'm going to talk about the practicalities of this, the form and the fit as well, and the finish and its functionality. But first, I'm going to ask you to please hit that like button, leave a comment. It really helps the channel. And as always, thank you to my Patreon supporters. So, this fits really nice in the hand. The ergos are great. There's a little bit of relief or, a difference between where the blade sits and the bottom of your knuckles. So it leaves almost enough room for you to do a flat cut on something but really your hand needs to be off of a cutting board if you're going to be using this in the kitchen. The ergos on this are super simple, work really well. And like I said, these pins are absolutely phenomenal. AEB-L is a razor steel, and it will take a very fine edge and is very easy to sharpen and rust resistant, making it, in my opinion, one of the perfect steels uh, for uh, for anything. Actually, it's honestly like my favorite knife steel. Um, I have gone through a lot of different iterations of what I think my favorite knife steel is, and there's some that are better for others for certain applications. But for an all-around knife steel, I feel that AEB-L Nitro V, and they're both in the same family, are absolutely excellent. Um, so yeah. This could be around the campfire too, though. It has a nice sharp spine, as LT Wright is known for. I said this is a semi-custom. That's because I got it from the Pot House for $20 a month. You get to join this club, and you get to kind of they'll pick a model every quarter or so, and you get to go to their red wall program and pick out like what finishes you want. I happen to pick out double red canvas micarta, which I absolutely love this color, and I have several knives in this from LT Wright. And I got the mosaic pins, which I honestly do not get from them very often or at all. And I just wanted to see what it looked like. And I was very pleasantly surprised, especially with this brass tube for the lanyard hole. Just looks really, really great. You can always tell by the way LT Wright's knives because the steel because it has it right there. That's L. That's for AEB-L. And there is their pot house symbol right there. So as far as it working in the kitchen, it works absolutely excellent. Now, when we get to we talk about the form of a knife, there are some kitchen knives which are flatter, and they're the French style or German style knives, and they're longer, and they're like considered a chef's knife, like the picture in your head of a chef knife. It's usually got a flat part with a little bit of belly at the end. This happens to have a little bit of a drop point too. That makes it so that when you're sous chefing, you're cutting on a cutting board, you can cut straight down on something, right? Now, there's not quite enough relief to do that with your knuckles, so the cutting board has to end here, and you have to kind of work on the edge of the cutting board, which I'm absolutely fine with. Or you got to be using the point a lot more, which is fine. Uh, this is a good knife for sous chefing. Like it will shave a very thin piece of cucumber skin off, and then slice it up very nicely. And because it's thin behind the edge, when you're cutting things up like apples that are a little bit stiffer and harder, it's not going to split open. Like if you use a knife that's too thick behind the edge or too thick in general, it's almost like chopping wood when you cut an apple. This is not like that at all. It works very, very well, and that's the way I've been using it. In fact, they sell the sheath for this, the M sheath, for $50 more. So they're assuming you're probably going to use this in the kitchen. And I just wanted to compare this to a couple other knives. Like this is the Creely, oh gosh, Omnivore. And this is a really unique knife. A knife made as a sous chef knife, kind of like what I consider this to be. A lot more belly though, and a chisel grind. American made. Creely is absolutely great, and they make it. It makes it for left-handed people too, so the grind is on the other side. So chisel grind, as in it has, it does. There is a little bit of a secondary bevel on this side, but very small. But here, the majority of the bevel is on one side. What that does is it splits the food and peels it off to the right when I'm using it, and I find this to be very good and also very accurate. I can very precisely take off exactly what I want from something. I can make a very thin slice of whatever I'm doing. And I also wanted to give a shout out to the Petty Z. I actually had a recent viewer ask me for a long-term review of this, which I will do. I think I might do a more comprehensive long-term review of a lot of my kitchen knives, but the Petty Z is from Bark River Knives. Thin behind the edge. Again, all three of these are pretty thin, although the Creely Mako is the thinnest. This one actually looks like it's, oof, I don't know, 3/16, and whereas, or maybe even less, maybe this is a true eighth, whereas this is more like 3/16. But you can see they're all about the same size and family. Petty Z does work really well too, except for it's a convex grind. It, however, is CPM 154, and it has just the slightest amount of patina here and there from when I haven't cleaned food off of the blade immediately. Haven't had that problem with AEB-L, and haven't had that problem with MagnaCut. So when we're talking about length here, we're talking about 4.5 inches of cutting blade and 9 inches of overall height, overall length. And like I said, very easy to grip this. Doesn't have a Coke bottle handle. Like in a way, the Omnivore feels better because it has that Coke bottle ergonomics to it. But that being said, I don't necessarily miss it when I'm using this either. And for once, Bark River doesn't even have a Coke bottle type shape to it when it might actually call for it. But I don't know. It feels fine. The price on this was about $150. They're currently available on LT Wright's site. Not as fancy as this with the mosaic pins, but well worth it, I believe. And also an AEB-L. Sometimes they change up their steels, but this really, really works. So overall, what do I think about this knife? I think the value is definitely there. It works excellently as a kitchen knife. You can do very fine work with it, skinning it, or actually using it as a skinner. It doesn't have as much belly as something like the Northern Hunter or the Muck, and a lot more belly is usually better for skinning type tasks or for, chopping up your meat, or that sawing motion is going to get through the fibers of the meat better. But I have used that in this, and it works perfectly fine for that. Very easy to sharpen and maintain. Stropping it keeps it very sharp because it's AEB-L, and AEB-L likes to be sharpened up really to a fine, fine point. I don't think I've even put this on a stone yet. And I haven't needed to just by stropping it. It's still maintained its factory edge very, very nicely. Very thin behind the edge as well. I personally love this type of model because I was able to get it kind of semi-custom with this double red, which I absolutely love in these mosaic pins. I think this is a screaming good deal, and if you have someone who wants something that's going to be a little bit better off in the kitchen than a standard knife that they might have, this seems like a really good deal. And in fact, in general, I would tell you to get something like the Alder, or sorry, that's not the Alder, the Omnivore, or I would tell you to get something like this. Both very good. I do have an Alder as well, which is a really cool kitchen knife. You should check that out as well, but that's more like your traditional chef's knife. Yeah. So, little known fact, if you don't know this about me, I am the cook of the house. I cook every single meal for everyone all the time, and so I like to have a good knife when I'm doing that. And this knife definitely fits the bill. I'm really super enjoying this in the kitchen right now. Although, like I said, I think it'd be absolutely fine knife around the campsite as well. I'm just not going to use it that way. Thank you so much for joining me today, and as always, smash that like button, turn on notifications, leave a comment. It helps the channel. And if you want to become a Patreon member to help support this content and this channel, all you got to do is follow that link down below. For $3 a month, you get entered to win a knife of the month. And that really, really helps me because this is an expensive little hobby I got. Thanks so much, people, and I'll see you next time on Sharp Ends. Bye-bye now. I am going to set up my picture now. How do I want to set up my picture? Ooh, like this. Ooh, that looks pretty. Oh, get that tape measure out of there. All right, here we go.